Seth, appreciate the opportunity to be able to do this. I He originally asked me what I wanted to do to get a speaker, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll just do it. That's fine." And I just kind of share my story. And he's like, "Well, is there a theme to it?" And I say, "Well, if I had a theme behind it, it would be my struggle of surrender and God's faithfulness through it." I'm not sure how much I will actually stay on that topic, as much as I just will share my testimony. Um, but it for me, it's been a pretty uh I'm 41 years old. I was born in January 4th, 84. On the third day of my birth, I was adopted and brought into a loving family home. Nothing ever seemed out of the ordinary, and everything was well and fine until the age of 7 or 8. Um, I was just sharing. It's funny. I've been sharing this a lot here lately. So obviously, God is doing some work in it. But I remember sitting in the classroom, and we had all three. We had the way our school was set up. We had three classrooms that would come together and watch the videos on the TV on the rolling cart. And I was sitting there in the TV watching the TV one day with the classes, and one of the kids said, "Christopher's adopted," and one of the other kids said, "What's adopted?" And then there's when the third kid chimed in. They said, "That's when your mommy and daddy didn't love you." And they got rid of you, and so they give you to somebody else. And that's my first real vivid memory, right? That's that traumatic experience. That's when I can, looking back at it now, processing it, I can identify that was that pivotal moment in my life where everything changed for me. I no longer felt loved. I no longer felt accepted. I no longer felt at home. Um, and so that was that first experience. Then I started noticing things about my mom's and my relationships, how we would always argue, and I never seemed good enough. There was some traumatic encounters with my mother due to her own issues. Looking at it now, but at that time, to a 8 or 9 or 10 year old boy, that doesn't change anything. The hurts were all the real. Um, and so anyway, I'm moving forward just slightly into that. It wasn't soon after that I remember my next traumatic experience, around 8 or 9 years old as well. It wasn't very long after that first initial one that I got introduced. I was over at my buddy's house playing, and we were rummaging around through his parents' room and came across the hidden stash of porno magazines. And I'll never forget that image that was scored into my mind. But it also did something to my young childlike brain, and it released all types of dopamines, and so now this thing has come out, and like, I like that. That made me feel something. And so I remember starting down this line of sneaking pornography whenever I could, and that led to little boys being little boys, I guess, and experimenting. And then upon that at an early age, then I felt shame and guilt because the Holy Spirit, obviously, the Spirit that resided in me was like, "That's not right." I knew the difference between right and wrong, but I continually went against it. So this pornography and this sexual addiction started at a very young age. So I went through that from the time I was 8 for the next 6 years, not realizing where I was into. It's only been over the past 3 years that I've really started digging into that and seeing, well, my goodness, what was I really into? Because that didn't have any real negative consequences in my life. Beside at that point, but what it led to was at the age of I was still hanging around these type of kids growing up, and then at the age of 14, um, I ran into I was in a private school, and I was hanging out with some buddies. I was always an athlete, but I always kept those friends that had access to pornography and all these things because it wasn't kept at my house. And so that led me into meeting one of my friends, and him one day asking me, he's like, hey, or telling me, not asking me, but telling me, hey, eat this. As I was spending the night over at his house, and uh, I'd never smoked a cigarette, never drank a beer, never smoked weed, but I was tripping on 3 hits of black pyramid gel tabs, LSD. Was my first experience at getting high, and I remember that moment. Um, like it says in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, man, I had arrived. This is what I wanted. This is how I wanted to feel, and I never wanted anything else. Uh, so fast forward, I'm going through this starting at 14. That's when the theft, the stealing started taking place, and I had to find ways to feed this addiction. That it went from acid to pot to smoking cigarettes to MDMA or ecstasy, and I was doing all this stuff at 14, 15, 16 years old. So fast forward, 18, I graduate high school. Somehow I make it through high school, graduate with honors. It was crazy enough. Didn't even realize, I look back at it, I'm like, how'd I do that? But I go to college. I take a summer off. I sign up for college and take the summer off. That's when I was introduced into the world of methamphetamines. I started working, a job. Moved out of my parents' house, because I wanted to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, and moved into a room in somebody's house. I was working in order to pay. That's when I realized what bills were for the first time, and so went from working. I was working this part-time job at a credit card company called MB&A America. At the time, and I realized that wasn't going to be enough money for me to live on, and party on, and do everything I wanted to do. So I started working at a second job at nighttime at Waffle King, and that's where I was introduced to methamphetamines. And that was at the age of 18. I just graduated high school. So anyway, this continues going forward. I won't get into the gory details. I meet a girl. I get her pregnant. Decided I needed to. I hate when I say. Sorry, I just realized I say that a lot.
Right.
But I meet a girl, get her pregnant. Decided I'm going to go into the Army because that's what I need to do. I need to take care of this kid. So I wake up one day, get married. I'm already enlisted at this point. Go into the Army. Get kicked out of the Army about 4 months later for fraudulent enlistment. I didn't tell the recruiter about all the drug use. I told the recruiter about all the drug use, but he didn't get the waivers that needed. He said, no one will ever find out about it. Well, what that did was it left me a loophole. So when I got scared and I wanted to get home, I had a way out. So I pulled that card. It was one of those things that I carried shame about for a while, because it was like, I could have stayed and my life could have been completely different, but I'm good now because I know God has a plan and a purpose, for it all, and he's working it all things out for his glory. But anyway, I move forward from there. I get home, get to see my son be born. One of my friends that I was doing drugs with prior to going into the Army, has now graduated from doing drugs to selling massive quantities of drugs. And so that's when I fell into the world of selling drugs. When I came home from the Army at the age of 20. My son had just been born. Now I'm starting to sell drugs. Get caught with some drugs, end up going to prison for my very first time in 2005. I get out in 2007, meet another girl, get her pregnant, and this cycle begins. And it just became a cycle. So I move forward 5 times. 5 times I've done this, not with the children per se, but 5 times I've gone to prison, gotten out, gone to prison, gotten out. All of it. Every time I meet a girl, I get high, I go to prison. I get out. I meet a girl, I get high, I go to prison. And that's been my cycle. this past time, that's what it was like. So this past time, my last time out, I got locked up in 2017 after arguing with my ex. I meet a gentleman while I'm incarcerated named Brady Smithwick. He's a founder of an organization called Lion Life. He's operating out of the Cherokee County Jail. He's my creative writing instructor. We started having some really good conversations, and talking about making this creative writing a thing on the outside. So anyway, I go to prison. I get out. I forget all about Brody, in that season. And I get out, I go to prison, I get out in 2020. When I get out, I'm like, I can't do drugs anymore. I can't do meth anymore. The meth takes me to prison. Hard drugs take me to prison. And you know what? I never got in trouble smoking weed. I never got in trouble drinking. I'm just going to substitute all my drugs for these two things. And it seemed to work for a little while, right? Until I started collecting DUIs like candy. I guess I would be I get out and I get a DUI in October of 2020. September of 2020. Then I get a DUI, my second DUI in January of 2021. Then I get a third DUI in October of 2021. And I'm like, in this whole time, I still don't see any problems besides, wow, maybe I do have a little bit of a drinking problem, but at that point it was too much for me to stop. So December of, it was right after that last accident. It was in December of 2021. No, August. Sorry, I've got to do my months. October, it was after that last accident in 2021. I moved back to I'm in my parents' house. I remember about this guy named Brody. Decided I'm going to call him, and I start talking to Brody. He becomes a fast mentor to me. He remembers we start meeting on the outside, for this creative writing. And then I'm trying to place the dates. It was, April 4th of 2022, that I got locked up for the last time. And it was for the violation of probation from Cherokee County for that last DUI. And then looking there, so now fast forward now that's what it was like, right? So that's what, let me focus more on, like, that was what it was like, what happened. And now I'm at April 24th of 2022. It's my daughter's 13th birthday. I'm looking at going to court on April 25th, and it's on April 26th is my oldest son's high school graduation. And I also have a kid in DFAC. I also had another kid who was like 8 months old at the time, in DFAC's custody. And I felt about this big. I felt like a complete, utter failure. I tried to call my daughter all day long for her 13th birthday, and no one answered the phone. I remember that night going and throwing a flag on after the phones went off. I asked the roommates for the room, and I threw a towel over the door, and I went in my room, my cell, and I hit my knees, and for the very first time I said a prayer, an earnest prayer to God. Like I missed the part where at age of 14, before the drugs happened, I had this sighting. I asked Jesus to be my Lord and Savior, at a church camp. And then I come back and I realized now, looking back, that soon as there's a surrender, like soon as there's some move of God, the enemy's shortly there after it. And let me fast back forward. So I said that. So now I've believed, this whole time in and out of prison, the whole time I've been in prison, all the times I've been in prison, I was reading the Bible, and I'd get out and fall again. I'd get locked up, read the Bible, fall again. So I got back this time. I got in there and I said that first surrender, that first real prayer to God. For verse from it's just like, Lord, whatever you want to do tomorrow, I'm just crying to Him. Whatever you want to do tomorrow, do it. Just never let me forget this pain. I didn't want to ever do this again. If He wanted to send me to prison, I was fine with that. If He wanted, whatever He wanted to do, I really just surrendered. And He said the next day I go to court, and funny enough, like my judge wasn't there, but I had a sit-in judge, and my probation officer wasn't there. I had a sit-in probation officer, and it was like it just worked out. To the people that were there that knew me weren't there, and I had these new people, all these other sit-ins, and they're like, you know what, Mr. Barfield, we're gonna give you another chance. And I remember my lawyer looking at me as they said they reinstated me, and he looked at me in the cell as I'm signing the paperwork in the hallway, and he said, "This is the last chance. Next time they will send you back." And I'm like, and so I get out. I make it to my son's graduation the next day. I get to see my daughter for her birthday. I mean, it's a couple days late, but I get to see her at my son's graduation and have that family time. And then I'm like, I had to do some type of treatment, right? So I knew that was part of my stipulations. So, and I knew I needed to get away from mom and dad's house, but I really didn't want to. I just still wanted to do what I wanted to do. So in true alcoholic or addict tendencies, I decided I'm going to put this on hold and put a pin in it, as long as I can, just as long as I can. I had all the excuses, and so I went. Then I decided, you know what, before I go try to find somewhere to go, I've been talking to Vision Warriors at this point, but I still hadn't made it in the door. And so, like, before I leave mom and dad's house to go get some help, I'm going to have this one last hoorah. I'm going to go get this girl, and I'm going to have this party, and we're going to drink, and we're going to have a great night. And then I'll go into Vision Warriors next week. And that next week turned into about 2 weeks. And I'll never forget the day. It was June 10th of 2022. I reached down for my bottle of Commodore vodka next to my bed in my parents' basement. And as I reached for that bottle of vodka, the Lord spoke to me just like I'm speaking to you, but it was like on a cellular level. And He said, "Is this what I delivered you for?" And for the first time in my entire life, I was scared to death, man. Like there was nowhere for me to go. It was like my father had just caught me doing what I knew I shouldn't be doing. Like he told me not to do 1,000 times, and I had nowhere to go or hide. And I freaked out. I remember grabbing that bottle and pouring it out, and I called Brody, and at that point I had a mentor from the Isaiah Project. His name was Lloyd Johnson. I called these guys and decided, it was like, I need help. So I hung out, I was in a tangle with probation at that time, and I called my probation officer and canceled my transfer. And I'm like, I'm going to Division Wars, no need to cancel. I came up here. And that was the last day I drank, was June 10th of 2022. Then that was the last time I wanted to. And so now I'm moving forward. I finally got into Vision Warriors. I ended up failing 3 drug tests before I finally got in here. But when I failed the first one, I was like, all right, I'll be back. I'll be back. I knew I needed this place. No other way that I could tell that I needed this place but the Holy Spirit. And so since being here, I got here, I was actually in the computer. My date of entry here is June 22nd of 2022. And so I've been here coming up on 3 years. I'm now on staff here. But my story, it isn't just about being on staff, but it's like that first year in this very same room that I'm sitting in right now. I would get up every morning, and I would dig into the Word and dig into a conversation and relationship with the Lord. And just, I was working a case plan for defects. Let's see, about 9 months into working this defects case plan, I completed it. except for the fact I didn't have my son home and I needed a place for him to go. And at that point, I was like, I went to the founder here, Kurt. I talked to the rest of the staff. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I can't take him right now. I want to. I've completed everything, but I'm not ready to leave this place. And so, I by the God's grace and by the ability that we had here at the moment, we have in one of our other houses on the same property, there's a basement that needed some revamping to make it child friendly. So we did that. That took a couple months, but we got that done. We now have a Vision Warriors family suite. That's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath apartment in the basement that allows that my son and myself are now living in. He's been home with me for a little over a year. From good, he actually, how God's in all the details. He actually came home on Good Friday last year, and so most people measure dates or moments like that. Well, he came home on March 28th. Well, I think of it as every year, regardless of March 28th or not, it's from Good Friday to Good Friday. He's been with me. And so that same time period, I started on staff here at Vision Warriors. I started off answering the phones, helping do the intakes for the intake coordinator. And now I've graduated now I get the opportunity of wearing many hats. I do the community, I still answer the phone, still do the intakes. I also get the opportunity to do, I'm now the community engagement director. So I get to do cool things like this, host these type of events or open houses. I get to go out to meet people and share the story of who Vision Warriors is, what they've done in my life and what they're doing in other guys' lives. And it's just a beautiful thing. But it's in and all through this story though is God's always shown me a way, right? And I've always had this this ability to hold on to it as long as I could until he pried it out of my hands. So one of the things I remember God telling, one of the things along this road is when I was going in and out of jail, and I'd get my Bible out every time, was somebody once told me, is like, so where do you give him the most of your time? Where do you give God the most of your praise? Where do you read the word the most? And I'm like, well, when I'm locked up. And very, very clearly, the guy has told me that's where he's going to keep sending you until you give him that on the outside. And that, I wish I would have stuck at that particular moment, but I look back at it and I can think about it, and it's true. It is where I give him the most time, the most focus, the most of my heart, and where I allow him to do the work. Is where I'm at now. But it's funny because like even in my struggle to surrender my will and my ways, he still had a sovereign plan, and it just goes to show his word is true. He says he uses all things for his good, for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And that's for me is even in going to prisons, right? The crowd that I was hanging out with, and I told you my buddy went from selling or doing drugs to selling a lot of drugs. We had another friend at that time, and she was our little running crew. So it was me, my buddy, and our homegirl. That was all our little running crew. And I leave the names out for a reason, just because I'm not sure about I'm not sure about the legalities of the time of all this, even though it was like 20 years ago. But it's God, in God's sovereignty. Like I go to prison on a simple charge. I get sentenced to I did 20 months on that time period. I got sentenced to 5 years and did 20 months. During that 20-month time period, I was away. One of my friends my homegirl got murdered, and my buddy. He ended up getting sentenced to 17 and a half years in the feds. And those are the two people I was always with. I look back at that and I still think about it regularly, that could have been me with them, either one of them at any particular given moment. If I wasn't dead, I could be in prison. for the feds for a long time. And it's just like one of those things, even in all of it, he has a design and a plan and a purpose. My son coming home, there's so many times I wanted to grab control of the time period and the scale of how quickly we were getting how quickly the apartment was being put together, or how quickly the court told me we need this now, and I would get frustrated. And even in that frustration, he was doing the pruning. He was doing the work. And then when it came time for me to load him up in the car and bring him home, it was Good Friday. So I just see how good he is. Where I find where I want to grab control and hold on to things, when I tend to let them go, he tends to do some amazing things. I look at it sometimes as if I can just hold it, I don't have to let them all go. I'm still holding these things in my hand. I can hold my son, I can hold my job, I can hold my housing, I can hold my car, I can hold all these things. I can still hold them. They're not bad things. But when I try to hold on to them, that's when it becomes a problem. But if I open up my hands and just allow him to move things around, then it tends to, he might take this thing away, but put something bigger or put something better. Or I'm still in the midst of learning how to walk this thing out. I'm just now coming up on 3 years sober, but when I look at it and feel it, it's a whole different lifetime. And that's why I never wanted to lose the amazement of that. I find myself sometimes in awe. I still go in awe every time. One of the amazing gifts that I've been given, not just my son back, but is I get to go into the Cherokee County Jail now. And do interviews for guys coming in wanting to come in Vision Warriors. I get to minister to folks, and tell them of just pieces of this same story that my story is not special. I'm not any more special in God's eyes than anybody in this room or anybody out there, that he loves us all. And he has a plan for us all. And so, just getting to go into the jail and shine light in the darkness, like while I'm still on active probation. I always thought it was like, I'm going to go back in there one day, but there's always going to be these loopholes and these things and all this stuff. I'm going to have my record expunged, and however that's going to work. And no, it's when he says it, he does it. And so I just got to for me, I still struggle with wanting things my way. I think we all do, but sometimes I can forget that I'm not special. Like, when it comes to these things, like everybody struggles with something. And so when we just all learn to let go and surrender it to God, he has immense, power and compassion to move it to our good and for his glory. So, I think that's pretty much it, man.
Amen. Man, that's great. That's
Good
great.
job.
Appreciate it.
I love that story. Any questions?
Yeah.
Comments?
I got a question. Did you finally find that love for yourself that you was looking for?
I still battle with that. I don't necessarily, I still battle with that sometimes. I know God loves me. And so loving myself, it's funny that you asked me that question. I don't know if I love myself or I just love him, and I know that he created me to be me. I still have a hard time acting. Yeah, I still have a hard time sometimes. I just talked about this with somebody the other day. It's like, I still seek acceptance and I have to catch myself at that moment. And so like it can affect me, especially working in the ministry, because I want to be so many things to so many people here.
Yes.
Because guys look up to me, because, I answer the phone for them when they get to come in. So that they expect something more of me, but I really just try to be real. That's what, with all these guys, like with my struggles, with where I'm succeeding, with where I fail, like, and so I don't just get to love myself, but these guys get to love on me, too. And as I get to love on them. So I find that I have found love for myself in this.
Outstanding. Yeah, because you know your love for yourself and your love for God is one and the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one and the same. And sometimes we get confused and try to separate the two. But His love in us and that love that we share out to other people, that's love for ourselves. Because if we didn't love ourselves, we wouldn't be able to give it to God either.
Yep. Amen.
Amen.
That's it.
I'm gonna have to come and visit you all.
Yeah, man. Where are you at, sir?
We're in Union Point, Georgia. So you all are probably about about 2.5, 3 hours from us.
Okay.
We have a
Yeah,
program there.
we'd love to have you out.
Yeah, yeah. I'll let me have your telephone number.
All right, it's 470
Uh-huh.
820
Uh-huh.
2384.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Christopher.
All right, Christopher.
Yeah, Barfield.
All right. Yeah,
Oh, Mazzy. Hey,
I
brother.
will give you a call, make arrangements to come down and visit with y'all.
Yeah, I would appreciate it.
All right. Good, I enjoyed that.
No, thank you, man. Miss Christine.
She's all right. Oh.
I'm here.
Okay.
Do you guys, what is your guys' intake process? How many beds do you have?
So in this location at Vision Warriors, we have 31. In our second location, we have 13.
Okay.
So we still have our original house that we started out of in Alpharetta, and then this is the main property that's our main campus that we got in 2017.
So do you guys, do you accept anybody, or what's your intake process look like?
So our minimum criteria for entry is you must do one in-person or phone interview, no sexual charges, no violent charges, but even those, depending on the time and the severity, how long ago, like it's kind of
Understandable.
lenient. And then must pass drug and alcohol screen and cannot be court ordered.
Okay.
Yep.
We
And
get
then
calls quite
Hmm?
often of, how long's your program?
We don't have a date. So technically, we don't like to consider ourselves a program because we have structure, but we don't have clinical. We don't do mandatory counseling. We have one man up until you're voted in. You have three meetings a week. After a vote in process, you have one mandatory meeting a week here through Vision Warriors. Outside of that, it's your recovery. Like, so I do a lot of church. I go to two, maybe one or two A meetings a week. I'm plugged into my church community. I'm fellowship full time here, but, so I work the 12 steps. But I'm not the AA guru that's like at a meeting every single day. I'm not. Some people are, and that's their program of recovery. And that's what we believe is that we just let God here to move, and let the man do the work that he needs to do. Because all of our paths aren't the same, but we're all on the same path, if that makes sense.
That does, exactly. We're all in the same pool. We just got a different color floaty.
Yeah, exactly. We're just all here to recover. So everyone from our founder to leadership to the newest members all struggle with drugs and alcohol. That's our commonality, and that we know that there is a God and we're not him.
Amen. Yeah, we get calls quite often of looking for housing. So are they allowed to work?
Yes, ma'am. So from the time they get here, they're able to go to work. We're fully self-pay. For our due structure, we are $300 application fee, $600 due on the first of each month.
So it's 600 a month. And is that shared rooms or
Yes, ma'am. Shared rooms. At our location in Alpharetta, it's 2 bedroom. It's a house. I think it's 6 bedrooms, and it has 7 bedrooms, 13 guys. Over there. So the house lead has his own room. And outside that, I think everyone else shares a room over there. Here they goes, we have a bunk room that holds 6 guys and a bunk room that holds 4 guys. And outside that, every other room is 2 or 3 men.
So are you guys kind of more of like a sober living?
Yes, ma'am. We would say Christ-centered transitional home for men in recovery.
Okay. Definitely looking for more of those. They're hard to find.
Yep.
Are you guys GAR certified?
We don't hold any of the certifications.
Okay.
Not though. I'm not sure about GAR. I know we're not Thor approved. I don't think we hold a GAR certification, at least not anymore. I haven't heard anything about it. We may have at one point.
Gotcha. Yeah. And the only reason why I asked that is because we're GAR certified. We just don't have a house right now at the moment. So
Yep.
I do participate in those meetings and whatnot. I would highly recommend somebody to check them out just in case it comes down to the wire that they require it to be.
Yeah.
And the great thing that I love about GAR is they don't tell you what you have to be. They just want you to have it all in place.
Yeah, and I think, and if I'm not mistaken, I think when we first founded, Kurt was part of all that. I think it was GAR. I'm just not sure if we still hold the certificate or not.
And they've changed leaderships.
Mm-hmm.
So they do have some really good people that are in right now trying to have things move forward, and they're much more open and they're communicating a lot more than they used to. So just really good. And Candace, who's the executive director, she is very open to helping and guiding anybody along the way, which
Okay.
a lot better than what they've had in the past. Yeah, I would definitely love to keep your information. And like I said, we get people quite often that are calling that are looking, and the find good sober living is very hard to find, first of all. Everybody, all the programs are long term, which I'm not against. I think they're great. However, sometimes that's hard for a guy to grasp of, oh, I'm going to go away and I'm not going to have my phone. I'm not going to be able to work. And we get that. Yes, that is a great process, but sometimes they're not there and not everybody needs that.
Yeah. I think so we hold structure and accountability, is what we do. Guys, we have like guys come in, as I said, everyone who's here doesn't necessarily fit in. You meet the minimum requirements that meet you for entry. Then you have 30 to 45 days, depending on when you get here. So every second Thursday of the month, we hold our vote-in process, and so that is really the nuts and bolts of who we are, because it allows us to cultivate and adhere to the culture that we want here, of people that are willing to get up, clean up after themselves, be held accountable, push after something more. And sometimes like we have to ask guys to leave. They just don't fit that criteria. They may need an extra level of accountability. They may need an extra level of care. That's fine. They just, we want to see them get with the help that they need. But as far as this culture goes, and it's continually, because it's it's continually changing, but trying to keep the core of who we are, as vision warriors is important.
So your meetings you do twice a month, is that like staff or is that all peers?
So it's once a week, and it's every Thursday night. We do a house dinner. It's 6 for both of our locations. They meet here 6:15, and then at 7 o'clock on the dot we call in a meeting. We have a meeting from 7 to 8. It's open to the public. So anybody's welcome to dinner. Every first Thursday of the month, we open this meeting to everyone, females included. Every other Thursday of the month, the females go to a females meeting, and the men have the men's meeting.
What's on the menu?
That varies, depends on who's cooking, but like tomorrow we have a small group coming in from North Point Church doing burgers. For us every first Thursday of the month, we have the Alpharetta Rotary Club come in and cook for us, which is an amazing meal. So if y'all want to come up on the first Thursday, I recommend coming up on the first Thursday. Yeah. And so it's an amazing opportunity, just to meet and fellowship. But, yeah, that's weekly. That's weekly. We have a staff meeting, at 5:30 for our staff and the house managers. And then, at 6:15 we eat and then we come into this meeting. So we have, we meet weekly.
So you guys don't have a time frame of, can somebody stay there for a couple years if they want, if they needed to?
Yep. That's one of the beautiful things about it is like there's not a time limit as long as a man's pushing or pulling. He's growing himself, he's pushing others along or pulling somebody along behind him, he's fine to stay.
And we have that in our house in Vegas. There's not a time frame. We have found out that, once a guy has so much time and they think they're doing great, and then they got their job, they got all their stuff that they lost all back, and then they go on out and get their own apartment and they realize they just isolated themselves, that they didn't know. And sometimes that creates a setback. That we just had a group of guys, which was great. We had a group of guys that left. However, what they did is that they all left together and they went and they got a place together. So instead of being, oh, hey, I got my own house, it was, we are together with 3 and 4 people versus 10. And they love that.
Yep. What is your, so one of the beautiful things about here is that I love is our staff. I mean, not our staff, but our alumni come back regularly. Yep. There's not a day pretty much that goes by that I don't see at least one of our alumni here. Nice. But normally it's multiple times a day. I see somebody that's graduated or not graduated, but has transitioned from here. And so they're back all the time supporting guys, talking to them and taking them to work with them or taking them fishing, or they're doing things with them. So what's that look like for y'all?
We have the same. On Sundays we have alumni breakfast.
Okay.
So they have breakfast every Sunday. They cook together, they eat together, they fellowship, and then on Thursday nights we have a meeting at the house that we've had for probably about the last 4 years. So we have a lot of the alumni that come back. When we were just in Vegas, we went to the meeting, and they had, which was really big, they had almost 40 people. They actually had a treatment center come and bring 10 guys to the meeting. So that was great. And it was amazing. We met a woman that I really have no idea who she was. And she had said she's got like 3 years and she's doing well. But she said that our house and coming to the meetings was really big on her early recovery. So awesome. That was great to see.
No, that's amazing. Are y'all actually certified AA, like y'all have in the chair app and everything?
I do believe so, yes. I do believe so, yeah. Yep.
We just got ours that we hold here on Saturday mornings. We just got it officialized. We've been doing it since I've been here every Saturday morning, but it was about maybe 3 to 6 months ago, somewhere in that time period, that we're actually get it all finalized through AA and made it official.
Nice. And we have at our location here now, we do have a Monday night all recovery meeting that we've had since January, and that's doing really well. Cool. The only problem is with your all recovery is it doesn't go on anybody's platform.
Yeah, I know. I like some of the all recovery meetings I would go to at the Zone up here in Marietta.
Very familiar with the Zone and Daniel.
Yeah, love Danny. I've known Danny for a while now. Missy and Michael, I've known my entire life. My parents and them knew each other when I was growing up.
Oh, okay.
So our program is we have PHP, residential, long and short term, and the recovery residence for the men and women. We have separate programs for the men and women. So basically our people kind of stay with us from the first time they come in the program up until they decide to leave. Our recovery residence is we have like 6 beds in our large program for recovery residents, and then we have a 15-bed recovery residence house that we have. And what we do is we have a phase program where they go through phase 1, 2, and 3 in the recovery residence, and they get different privileges throughout that time. We start them out in our main building so that we can kind of monitor and see how they're going to react moving from either the PHP or the residential program, and how they're going to adjust to being able to go out and go to work and things of that sort, and they to come back into the main building, and they can still see the counselors and stuff like that if they need be. And then once they get into phase 2, they move over to the recovery residence, and then they get a job. On Tuesday they go to an AA meeting. Wednesday they have Bible study at one of the local churches. Thursday they do celebrate recovery, and then on Sunday we have our group meeting where everyone gets together, and they talk about people moving up in phases or so. In order to move up in phase, they have to write a letter to the group explaining to the group why they feel like they need to move up, what they've accomplished, what they haven't accomplished, what they're working on. And the group gets to decide whether or not they're ready to move up to the next phase.
Okay.
So it works pretty well because the guys build a relationship, so they're real honest with each other about what they're doing. They have to have a sponsor, they have to have a job, and they have to be working the 12 steps in order to move up in the phases. And so all of those things have to be going on. And then we kind of take our hands off of them. And once they get to phase 3, because on phase 3, they can go to work and go home every weekend. And so it requires a lot of responsibility. We still do the random drug screens, and if they go on pass, we do drug screens when they come back. So it works pretty good. I think the guy that we have in there that's been in there the longest now, he's been there for about 1.5 years now. He's doing really well, got him a good job. He's working, going through the meetings, has us keeping his sponsor, attends church every week. He's real responsible, and he uses that response. We made him like we call them servant leaders. And what they manage the house, make sure people doing their chores, make sure people are coming back, making sure that people are coming back to the program on time, following curfew and doing all those things. So it's been working really well. And just like you said, there are some people that just don't work in the program. You'll get some people in that just aren't willing to follow the rules, or aren't willing to take care, do their chores, or aren't willing to keep the room clean or keep a sponsor or whatever the case may be. And then occasionally you have the one that go out on a weekend pass and drink or use something. And then we have to deal with that. And a lot of times if that happens, what we'll do, instead of just discharging them, we'll give them the option of coming back into our residential program or PHP program for a period of time. And then if they can adjust and get their behaviors together and get back on track, we move them back over to the recovery residence. And we also give them referrals to other places if they choose to go somewhere else also. So it's been working pretty well for us so far. Not a whole lot of issues, but there's always going to be, anytime you're dealing with that situation, there's always going to be some issue. But God has done us really well, right? He's allowed us to. We've been in business for 45 years now. And,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and we haven't had any really major incidents, thank God. And the client census go up and down, right? It goes up and down. That's going to happen. So we expect that, and so we try to make sure that we are providing the guys with everything they need to be successful. And that's our main thing. And that first thing is introducing them to Christ, right? And making sure that they know God in Christ. Because most of them know, but somewhere along the line, you kind of lose that connection. God never loses his connection with us, but we have a tendency to lose ours with him quite often, right? Yep. So we kind of bring them back. I think in the past 3 months, we've baptized 30 guys.
Nice.
And 18 confessions of faith, and the rest of the guys, the rest of the ones were like rededications and things like that. So we have a baptism pool here. We have a pastor on campus. One of our counselors is a pastor. He does the baptism and things. So it's a really good thing.
Awesome.
We have the inflatable hot tub that we break out every now and then.
Yeah, got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
Get it done.
Hey, we had a horse trough in here a year and a half ago.
I've seen that before too. I think ours ended up because we had a guy in February who wanted to do it and it was freezing.
Yeah.
Somebody donated an inflatable hot tub. We've just been using it ever since. It's kind of crazy. I'll go ahead and share, since we're just talking about programming and stuff, just some things that we're doing that you guys might be able to benefit from. So just so you're aware, we are GAR and we are Thor. So, and we're on the Thor list, so we get a lot of calls. Now we're not the most affordable place. Although our sober living, we have our main campus is for our residential clients. So the intensive residential program, which we do is 12 weeks. But we have 2 houses off-site that have 6 beds in each one. And so a lot of the people that are calling that are needing a Thor program, you know, a lot of times they end up going to that. And that's basically just a sober living. With our sober living, there is the mandatory community meeting. They have to be engaged in some kind of program. So whether that's AA or whether they're seeing a counselor or whatever. And we also do, aside from the drug screens, our guys have to install phone tracking app on their phone. Again, we're working with not only substance use, but process addiction. So the sex addiction piece, you know, in some ways, the accountability software is helpful for those guys because of what they're accessing online, particularly with pornography use. I related a lot to what you were saying in your story for a variety of reasons. But I love how you kept coming back to, there was always a female involved in each one of your, you know, it's the way when I tell my story is I was back where I was before, but it was worse.
Yeah.
It was like the exponential climb of the addictive process.
Yeah.
But as I work with my guys, you know, I do recovery coaching and peer support. And so I have a lot of individual peers that I work with one-on-one. And there's always something that we end up getting to that involves their shame cycle stuck in what does their girl think about them? It just is a way of phrasing it, right? So their identity caught up in whether it's their wife or their girlfriend or whoever they were with at a particular time along the way. The identity being caught up in what does the girl think about me and needing that acceptance and that. And I find that as very universal with men, or at least all the ones I've worked with. So when you kept repeating that, I said, that sounds funny.
Yeah.
But anyways, in light of all that and the work that we're doing at HopeQuest with these men and the different things that they're struggling with or the different needs that they have for whether it's length. I know, Christine, you're talking about length. Obviously, cost is always an issue. So we've recently added a new component to our programming, which we're calling high intensity outpatient. But essentially what it is we're adding a day program to what we offer. We've had evening intensive outpatient for several years. That is, you know, they come 3 nights a week, satisfy that level of care. But we continue to have men who are like, I want to take advantage of what you guys are offering. I want to be able to do some of the treatment, but I can't be away from home, you know, 24/7. I need to be able to work. I'll even come down there if I can work remotely. You know, we hear all kinds of stuff. I need to be able to see my kids on the weekends. And I can't commit to 12 weeks. I can do 6 weeks, but I can't. And so we say, well, we need to be able to be more flexible in what we're offering. So we now have this day program, and essentially what we're doing is we're customizing their treatment, not what's required of them or what the expectation is or the clinical component, But some guys are, they're saying, I want to come in, I want to do Monday through Friday, 9 to 3 for like a month or a month and a half, and then we're stepping them down, right? So we'll step them down to less days and then eventually less hours per day to try and get a true transition process. And we do have one of our houses is going to be dedicated to the guys that want to be a part of that. So they have a place to stay if they need it. We have some guys who are local and they're just going to, go home every day or whatever. And then we have some guys who want to just come in and do 3 hours a day, and at least have that option. So, and also given that it's new, we're being extremely flexible on cost right now. So if you have any guys that may want to come hang out with us for, a month and a half, whatever they may need, get that initial intensity, but still be able to have some flexibility, just let me know and we can definitely work with them. Anytime you're trying to launch something, you need to kind of get a base, right? A census. So we're kind of, just asking them to prayerfully consider what can you contribute to the treatment and then bringing them in. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, might be really good for some of your guys because they're gonna be staying here. They may want some treatment. I don't know.
Yeah. I think, that's one of the things,
Not far away.
one of the things we just started doing not too long ago. We used to scholarship guys and let them do 25 hours community service, go to a meeting a day. And, for our first 30 days or so, we'd scholarship them until they got a job. And we've actually had to cut that out in this season anyway. Until either one, we can find someone, we can get guys to manage themselves well, or we can have somebody that actually creates the task and manages them. But here recently, I find it more, the guys are more liable to participate when they have skin in the game.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to learn. I've just started now recently working with the sobriety resource, and Hope Link. But if y'all have any other suggestions of people that I can direct guys to, or there's resources for scholarships for guys, I'd love to be able to help more relievers.
Now, hopefully, only does the housing. They don't pay for treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hope Link's only helps with housing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think definitely send that to run.
Are y'all familiar with those two organizations?
I am with the sobriety resources, but not the Hope Link.
What's the website? Do you know?
HopeLink.org with a C.
I'm just typing stuff in here. Hopefully it's correct. The waron.org, that's Vision Warriors website. So I'm putting it in the chat here. And then I think it's the sobrietyresource.com, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's org as well.
Is it org? No, you might check them out.
Yeah, .org.
I am not familiar with another resource as far as helping guys pay for costs, unless it's eating disorders. There's the MANA people that help with disordered eating. What's the better way of saying that?
Eating disorders. That's how I
try not to use the D words, the evil D words.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're looking at starting a sliding scale fee sometime soon, for our people, because right now we take insurance and we have a self-pay thing also. A lot of times what we'll do is and we have some scholarship money where people may donate money to us, and what we do is we take that money, put it into a scholarship fund to help people pay for the cost of the program, because our residential program, our 6-week residential program is like $7,400, and that pays for housing, food, everything. All they have to do is pay for their medical. So So what we do is we take part of that scholarship money and use it towards their fees to come into the program. And then if they can't afford to pay the rest of it, we'll put them on like a payment plan or something like that to pay a certain amount a month. We don't have any interest rate to it. We don't add any interest rate to it, and we don't put a time limit on it. A lot of times people will pay, sometimes they won't. We're really not really concerned with that. Our goal is to get people into the program, to get people working and get their lives back together. The people who are going to do well in treatment, they're going to pay the money that they owe. The one that's not going to do well in treatment, they won't. You know, but that again, that's part of the part of what we deal with on a day to day. You know, is trying to teach people that responsibility to themselves, to others, the family, the society, and God, and everything else, and just learning to trust themselves and do the right thing at the right time. So, and that's a process. Some people are going to get it and some people won't. Some people are going to take several times in treatment. We had guys come through here that's been in treatment 21 times. And then one day it clicks with them and they decide, okay, I realize now I need to do something different than what I've been doing. Everything. It's like with the female thing, right? Most of our guys that regress in treatment because they met some female and they decided that the female relationship is more important than my recovery. And now, and now I'm going to focus all my attention on this relationship and none on my recovery. And then they ask, well, how did I end up back where I started from? So, but yeah, it's interesting and it's rewarding though. I think anytime you have the alumni to show up, right, to talk to the people and things like that, it's always rewarding. I think most of our staffs are people who have come through our program, completed the program, attended school, got their lives straight, and came back to work here. So it's good. We do good work. You know, and I like to say we do because, you know, we all, even at times when we think we've not done everything we can do, we always got to come to the reality that we can't do everything.
No. God is using us as he sees fit.
Exactly.
In the moment. And it's always try to keep the reminder. You know, I was reiterating this to our team last week because I needed a reminder, you know, because, you know, we get the up and down senses too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that just say, hey, look, no matter what's going on or what we think, our focus always has to remain how we providing hope for these guys that are coming here. Exactly. Or the people that are calling on the phone. That's all that's all I can do. Everything else is on them. You know, just show up and just do the process and then let God use us. So, amen.
Amen.
Well, thank y'all so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this small little gathering.
Me too.
Thank you, guys.
No, thank y'all.
And blessings on the rest of your week. I'm sure I'll talk to y'all soon. And let me know if I can ever do anything for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye-bye.